So I am very excited about our next section. And so this is a new addition if you've attended the event before. And so we wanted to have a dialogue with you and go over how we can partner as we walk through this new normal that we are trying to develop. And so what we thought we would do is have you as employers to very excited to have two of our leadership team here today to host the employer dialogue. You have met Dr. Monica Thompson, who serves as our executive director, and she gave you an overview. We also have Dr. Dan Maxwell, and he serves as the associate vice chancellor for Student Affairs for the U of H system. He also serves as Associate Vice President for Student Affairs here at the University of Houston to really take a look at our, UH and post-pandemic times. And I know I've gotten a lot of questions from employers about what does this look like. And so today we just wanted to open that up, have some great discussions. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Monica Thompson.
All right. Thank you again, Donnell. We're excited to have this additional segment because looking at the survey, we saw there were a lot of questions related to everything from virtual platforms to how to engage and what will our COVID and logistics and all those things look like. But first, I would like for us to, before we get into the questions that you may pose, I would like for Dr. Maxwell and I to just give a mini presentation. And I'm going to bring Dr. Maxwell into the conversation now and just talk about, students and how we serve them and just kind of walk through our journey from last year up until now and the things that we've seen with our students, enrollment, how we're supporting them. And then I'm going to end and just kind of walk through post-pandemic campus recruitment, things that we're looking at, we're considering, survey data that we have. Some great things came out of COVID, believe it or not, and then some things we'll keep as we move forward to this new normalcy. So I'm now going to bring Dr. Maxwell, which if you didn't put it together, is my boss, and he hired me. So it's always a pleasure to co-present and co-facilitate. So hello, Dr. Maxwell, welcome, and you may begin now.
Well, good morning, and Donnell, thank you for the invitation, and Monica, it's my honor to present with you since you're the rock star. Good morning, everybody, and thanks for having me with you this morning. I think as much as we have experienced the last 15 to 18 months, and we will continue to experience the ripple effects of the pandemic, the university is doing well. And while most of our residential students did not live with us after the campus began to close down in March of 2020, the good news is that as we're coming back and preparing for the fall, right now we are above the 70% residential return rate, meaning that 70% of the residence halls are full. And our hope, honestly, is if we can crack 80% for the fall semester, that'll be really, really good. Just because we know that some folks are still trying to determine what this means for them and how this works for them. But we are on the right track getting our students back onto campus. As of right now, it's my understanding that about 80 to 85% of all of our courses are coming back as to face-to-face experiences, which means the students will be coming back onto campus, whether they live in our residence halls or not. So that's also very exciting. Campus tours have restarted. It's to be fair, I've been on campus since last August, and it's been a little quiet. So when the tours started back up, that was a really good sign. We are doing orientation programs, both face-to-face and virtual for this summer, again, to respect where people may be and how they want to be in space with other folks. And we have begun to transition our staff back onto campus. And so we will see more and more of our staff starting to come back over the course of the summer. And then, of course, our faculty will be back in August in preparation for the new school year. Last school year, 2020, our total enrollment was above 47,000 students, with about 38,000 of those students being undergraduates. And that was up from the year before. Fall of 19, we started off with about 46,000 students. This year, our colleagues in enrollment services are telling us that the FTIC, or first time in college, typical freshmen, traditional freshmen, the applications are up by 4.3%, and transfers are up by 5.8%. The admits, meaning those that have applied and have been admitted, is up by 10.9%. Transfers are slightly down right now, but we're anticipating that number to start going up once we begin to process all of the information and required documents like transcripts that start coming into the institution. I think from a student affairs, student services perspective, I give high praise to our staff who, and this is an overused word, but it's meaningful, how they pivoted from really delivering most of what they do from a face-to-face experience to a virtual experience, an online experience. And we made a big shift last spring, which in many ways was challenging and difficult. It was new for a lot of folks to be able to do everything in a virtual environment. But we tracked our numbers and we had great responses and great interaction with our students all last spring, which really, unfortunately, set us up to be successful for this past year. Unfortunately, meaning that we weren't coming back as we had all hoped, not knowing what this pandemic really meant to us. But most of what we did, all of what we did last school year was virtual. I think our learning from that is that as we come back into this fall, we'll begin to figure out that balance. How do we potentially continue to deliver some experiences virtually? Because we know we reached some students that we weren't reaching before, but how do we begin to define a new normal and bring students back physically on campus by bringing back our programs and services and activities in a face-to-face experience? I don't think that it's one or the other. I do think that it's a hybrid approach because, as I said, I think we reached some students who weren't coming to campus, but we also know that some students didn't have a really positive experience in that virtual environment, and we know that they thrive better in that face-to-face environment. So I'm really excited about all the successes that University Career Services had last year, and I know that the staff is already beginning to think about what does that delivery look like for this coming year. So I will turn this back over to Dr. Thompson, and we'll continue to hang out to see if there's any questions that I can answer for you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Maxwell. Great information to share. Again, this is being recorded, so if you need to share it with your leaders or team, you'll be able to do that. I'm going to walk through from last year. This time, we decided to, we had to cancel 2 in-person events, which was huge because I know our May graduates were looking forward to, attending those career fairs upon graduation. And so our hearts really went out to them. And so what we did is we did a really quick turnaround from last year to this year. It's shortly after we started working from home, we had 2 virtual career fairs. And it was really good because we could treat it like a pilot because we probably, like looking at the projections and the numbers, we knew that we would probably be in a virtual environment in the fall. So that really did help us. We did those through Teams, which was the first time ever. Hats off to Caitlin and her team for leading those efforts. There was a lot of innovation went into that. And then we really worked with our vendor at Simplicity to see how can we have virtual career fairs through Simplicity. There were a lot of things that they needed to update. And so there's a lot of learning that took place. And with that learning, we thought about how we also need to educate employers on how to use the system, students on how to use the system. So all of our many tasks that involve career fairs, I feel like it tripled because there was a huge education piece. And we had lots of demos and different sessions just to get everyone acclimated. And then also being sensitive to various career platforms. As I shared with you earlier, we have a decentralized career services model. And so we did coordinate with our colleagues to see what they would be using, what would work for them, what would fit with their mission. And so you may have experienced, different systems from Handshake to Simplicity to Career Eco, just trying to find the best one. We found that a lot of employers, they wanted to meet virtually, but they also wanted to have some type of video component and actually do virtual, meet and greets within the career fair segment. So we've altered those. Let's see, 12 virtual career fairs later, because we did 12, which I think is huge. So that's just commendable for my team and I to be able to do that and help students and employers. So we know going into the fall, we will have a hybrid model. We'll have some in person as well as virtual career fairs. And then we have one event where, one portion of the day will be virtual and the latter part of the day will be in person. So one thing that really was a blessing that came out is that we were able to reach in some instances, I would say, new employers and new from different geographical areas. So that was huge, especially as more industries were starting to recruit. The hiring needs changed to the point that, we had more availability and those employers could really be on more than one campus in any given day. So we want to keep that hybrid model because we've developed some new relationships and we do understand that, some employers want to meet students in person. So that's what you'll see. We already have our lineup for the fall. We'll go over, you'll get the information if you haven't already, because the information went out earlier this month. But one thing, as we move through this process, we're moving ourselves through the process, we're learning through the process, we're adjusting because this is new for us, but we also wanted to see what were the needs of the students and the employers. So we did a lot of surveys to understand their needs, what they were needing, their challenges, as well as the students' challenges. And so we know that a lot of students, some of them are working 1 to 2, 3 jobs, and we want to know how COVID impacted them in their employment. And so we learned that many internships were delayed, start days, but the employers were wonderful. And if you're one of those employers, we thank you for communicating with the students. I was really impressed with the communication that the employer provided the students as far as their start dates or delays or trying to find a place for them. But what really came out of that is a lot of anxiety with the students, just trying to understand how this will work. They spent 4 years working hard. Many of our students are first generation, didn't have their graduation. How will they be celebrated? Now they have to look for a job in this uncertain time. And so we worked with our counseling office to deliver anxiety management with career management so that students could really understand what's needed, what they need to do, and just have their overall well-being. So that's something that we will continue to do because it continues to be an issue. And like I've mentioned some blessings, but we know some challenges, and this may not be unique to the University of Houston. And I also know it's not unique to the career services in Houston. We're looking to get students, more engaged, to get back on campus, come to events, sign up for events. We have virtual meet and greets. They're coming to those, but also to get them to apply for jobs. I've spoken to many employers, and that's what they're looking at. They have job postings, lots of openings. So we're promoting those opportunities, and that's what I like about our team. Through our social media, we're trying to connect with them through email. And so I think that's what makes us unique, is that we really want to take that tailor approach, figure out what are your target audience, if it's diversity, if it's a certain major, and working with our faculty and our other campus partners to help you build your employer brand. So that's where we are today. Like I mentioned, we will have hybrid models of career fair and events. And we hope that, knowing our lineup for the fall and even the spring, and I don't want to steal Caitlin's thunder, but we do have a new career fair landing page where you can get all the information that you need. We noticed that we had to send lots of messages, so we want to have everything in one place. So I'm sure she'll be talking about that later today. So that was something that we realized we needed to do. I do want to open up to questions. I saw one earlier about the fall career fairs, but Donnell, I'll let you help me manage these questions.
All right, wonderful. So our first question, and it starts with a comment. So it says, "Hi, I've worked with Caitlin and team for the past few semesters, great job, especially during this challenging virtual environment. When do you expect we will move back to in-person events?
I've been talking about it. We actually were thinking we would have more in the fall, but perhaps the spring. We have the dates, and a lot of planning goes in because we have to, reserve rooms and different things like that. And we almost have to think about what it looks like in a virtual environment, almost creating registration as well as planning for in-person. But perhaps we'll see more in the spring, more in-person events in the spring. We did send out a survey to employers, and if you have feedback, share with us. If you're, interested in attending in-person events, about half of our employers were interested in attending virtual events. So it was just a little half. So we thought that was good feedback. But the spring, I would say. And Dan, were you going to say something?
I was just going to let you know and all of our participants that as the governor has rolled back some of the requirements that were first initiated, the University of Houston is also beginning to roll back some of the restrictions. So we anticipate over the summer permitting larger events to be hosted in the student union and on campus, whereas before the sizes were limited. So as we get closer to the fall semester, I think spaces will be open for people to use those spaces or to rent those spaces. I just think that probably the other thing we have to do is to know our students and know our employers well enough to know who still feels comfortable or who wants to get back into those larger spaces. So both of those things will have to be moving in the same direction to make sure those events are successful. But good news is that space is going to be beginning to open up here on campus as well.
Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Maxwell. And I would just encourage you, we did send out an employer survey, but if you could drop into the chat, if you are open to attending in-person events or you prefer virtual, just drop in-person or virtual into the chat. I'd be interested to see that. And I'm going to continue now with our questions. So our next question is, will the career fair be just undergraduates or grad students as well?
Caitlin, you want to take that one? And I don't know if you wanted to say anything else about the in-person events as we've been planning and talking.
Yeah, I saw all the in-person pop up, and so that is reflective of what we are trying to do. And so just to that question, we are having 2 in-person career fairs this fall. And so one will be our all majors career fair, and then the second one will be our UH at Sugarland career fair. And so we can talk through those. Donnell has a section on that a little bit later, and so we'll be able to speak to that. And then to the other question about undergraduate versus graduate, all students are welcome and can attend our career fairs. So undergraduate, graduate, so it's master's and doctoral. I will say we primarily get undergraduate students that do attend, but all students are welcome, as well as the students that Cynthia and Io serve in our alumni career services team. So the current students as well as alumni who have graduated.
Thank you, Caitlin. I would also like to add what's really important when you sign up for the career fair is to post your job, your opportunity. So if it's for undergraduate, if it's for graduate, because as students are making decisions like, should I come to this event? Do they have anything for me? We'll remind you, we like for you to post that information. So then if it's something specific and it's graduate, then we'll do additional promotions to make sure those graduate students know. If they just see your company and you have a strong brand, to them, they still just really don't understand what you have. So I want to encourage you to always post your opportunities on Career Pathway.
All right, so the next question, I know somebody had missed who the liaison for the communications jobs was. And so that is Io Ogunye. And so I will be sending out the PowerPoint so you will have her name, and you can always reach out to us for contact information. And so she will be glad to work with you, and we share our job opportunities as we get them with the career counselors and the liaisons out to the college. So just so you know, so that is Miss Io. All right, so our next question is, we know that the hospitality industry was affected greatly due to COVID-19, and a lot of hospitality professionals transitioned into other industries, which has affected recruitment greatly. Has there been a decrease in enrollment at the Conrad Hilton program? I am not sure who to pose that question to. I currently don't know the answer to that. I believe we can reach out and we could find out, and it's something that I know that was you, Brandis, and so oh, that's it. Lauren, do you have any insight on that?
I haven't heard. I think it's a really great question. I know when I was meeting with students last summer, I noticed a lot of students who graduated last summer were looking into transitioning to some of their own kind of career concerns in terms of transitioning outside of hospitality and looking at ways to use their transferable skills in other ways. But in terms of current enrollment, I haven't heard of any changes affecting this new class coming in or previous students. I think it's really exciting that the hospitality industry has made a huge comeback and is booming, and there's such demand. And so I think that's a really exciting thing for our students right now. But I'd also be happy to double check in terms of enrollment numbers, but I haven't heard of any trends like that. But great question.
All right, thank you very much. Dr. Thompson, you got a "that's awesome" comment. So
Okay, thank you.
awesome job. All right, so I'm going to ask one more question and then we're going to kind of switch gears here. What percentage of students do you anticipate being in person / on campus in the fall? Maybe that is Dr. Maxwell, if you could address that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very fair assumption to believe that most of our students will be back on campus physically. As I shared earlier, right now, 80 to 85% of all coursework is going to go back to being face-to-face in the classrooms. And we're very excited that we've cracked the 70% occupancy rate in our residence halls. And we anticipate that to hopefully get as high as 80. And if we go above 80, we'll be feeling really good just because you know, folks have been off campus for this full year. And so, as you know, we deconstructed the old quad and opened up the new quad in the middle of a pandemic. So with that construction, we now have 8,300 beds on campus. So we're excited to get as many of those beds filled as possible for multiple reasons. But one, it'll just really make the campus feel really occupied, really full.
Thank you very much, Dr. Maxwell. I appreciate that. And we do have limited time, but I also wanted us to address diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think over the past year, we have seen this become a pressing initiative for many of us. We have seen changes in our on a national scale, and so I just, I really wanted you to know how the University of Houston is poised to help you as you develop, you know, a diverse and inclusive workforce. I think we are one of the leading universities that really has the total diversity package that we can serve you. And so I wanted to ask Dr. Thompson and Dr. Maxwell if they would just kind of address that and give you some more information about where we stand there. And then I believe, Dr. Thompson, I'll let you have some final remarks and we'll wrap up our discussion.
Okay. Dan, you want me to go first? Okay, so in terms of, Donnell, you're right. I'm glad you brought that point up. I know that was on the slide. So before the last year, a lot of employers would come to us and they say, we want more diverse students, and what does that look like? And they have started building pipeline programs, everything from a day at BP, starting with freshmen, working with women in STEM. So, you know, we're looking beyond race and color, but, you know, even gender. So we can develop programs. So a lot of we're available to develop programs, but also employers have come to us and they just have a desire, and in that conversation we'll collaborate and brainstorm. So I think to your point, Donnell, that's what we mean when we say we're poised to help you get connected. We serve all students, all majors. Where we sit as an organization, we're in the Division of Student Affairs and Enrollment Services. With that, if you remember being in college, you have kind of the student life departments. You know, when I was in college, we said Greek life, but it's a fancier word now. So we have access to veteran students, Greek life housing. So we have all these connections, students with disabilities. So anything that you're wanting to do and target beyond major race, we can help you target. We also can help you with developing an internship program. Our university has a strategic plan, and I'm actually sitting on the implementation committee. And one of the goals for Goals 1 student success is to make sure all students have access to experiential learning. Fancy word for internships, externships, which is also like job shadowing, research, as well as learning abroad. So that's huge. If you remember the slide with 47,000 people, and I'm co-chairing that committee to say, how can we do this for each of the students? And so I noticed that a lot of employers are also looking to recruit. And so I always have the conversation, have you thought about an internship program? We can help you develop that. We know the best practices. We have the information on our website, but we can sit with you because that's really how you're going to build that diverse talent pipeline, is beginning with them early and with an internship. When I was a recruiter, I recruited almost 8 years, worked in HR. And so that's really how we were able to build our pipeline, is to recruit them early, sophomore, junior year, or have some type of case competition or some type of bring your alumni back. So we can make all those things happen for you, but definitely meet with us so we can plan it out over the next year. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Maxwell to see if he has anything more to add to that.
Yeah, I think my approach to this is that as an institution, we are proud of the fact that we are Hispanic serving institution, Asian Pacific Islander serving institution, that no one student population is a majority between African American, Caucasian white, Hispanic, international, Native American. So we have this diversity, we have the numbers, and I think our efforts as an institution is to really, what do you do with that diversity? And that's where I think our commitment to inclusion and equity and justice is really important, and how our different departments across our division engage students on some of these topics, just as a part of everyday life. And you know, our vice president has said that, you know, our students should be able to be graduating talking about what it's going to mean to go into a diverse workforce. You know, that our student population represents where the country is and where the country's going as far as diversity in numbers is, and that if we're doing our jobs well, both in the classroom and outside of the classroom, our students should be able to articulate what this looks like for them and what does this mean for them. So I think Dr. Thompson's point about, you know, creating some pipelines is really critical in the work that Caitlin and her team do to find different ways for you to connect with our students before it's even time to interview. So for example, you know, we have living learning communities in our residence halls, which are basically, those could be passion areas. Those could be based on people's majors. So we have women in STEM, we have women in business, we have an international space. So maybe that's a way to connect, maybe potential employers to connect with students in their passion area that aligns with the work that you do in your organizations. It could be coming onto campus and helping with interview prep, or, you know, critiquing resumes. And I know this is extra labor on your part, but I think, how can we enhance our partnership between you and us to really demonstrate to our students that there are places for them in this greater Houston community and in the industries, the many industries that are out there, and that we have to help some of these students think outside of the box, right? They get a major and they think that that major dictates where they go to do their work. In some cases, it's very linear, right? I'm going to get an engineering degree, I'm going to go work for an engineering firm. But I could get a degree in accounting or economics or writing, and I could go in many industries and work in many different areas as someone who helps in your finance division or in your marketing and communications division. And so I think we sometimes have to help our students think more broadly about where their education can take them. So any ways in which you can help us think like that and do more programs or activities to connect you with our students prior to when they need to interview and when you need to be interviewing them. I think that's a partnership that will really elevate the kind of work that we do out of University Career Services. So thank you ahead of time for your commitment to our students, and let us know how we can better help you, help us, help them.
Thank you, Dan. How I want to button it up would be, to Dan's point, we want to continue to educate employers about the majors at University of Houston. There are over 123 undergraduate majors, and some of them cross over. For example, our advertising and PR and marketing and digital media. And so helping you learn about the majors in the different colleges. We have a College of Technology, and that's not a college that I've seen at many campuses, and they have some unique majors in learning some diverse skill sets that may not be the traditional majors that you look to hire. So when you go into Cougar Pathway and you see the pick list, and even on our website, learning about those majors, I think will be helpful. Asking about those majors, we may even ask you that you think about those majors, just so that you can expand your applicant pool, and also we can help the students understand that they could be a writer, a technical writer, and work in oil and gas or STEM, So I think there's some work that needs to be done on both parts, and mainly ours, to help you understand the majors at the University of Houston. So I know Caitlin and Donnell and Larissa, they will meet with employers and they'll kind of walk through. And even in their signature line, you can, make an appointment and have that consultation, and they'll follow up because you'll get all the email messages and sign up. But if you're really wanting to be strategic and, you have some goals, and whenever I meet with an employer, I'm like, what are your goals? Hopefully it's long-term, because it takes some time to build your brand, but what can we do now? What are those short-term goals? So that's why I want to button it up and leave it there. I'll turn it back over to you, Donnell.
All right, thank you so much. I just wanted to let you know, Dr. Maxwell and Dr. Thompson, that we just had about 5 employers that just expressed interest in building an intern program or some type of experiential learning. So to those employers, we will be following up with you, and we appreciate that. We're very excited to partner with you. Also, we did have a question about the LGBTQ plus community. We do have a large community on our campus. We do have a resource center. And so we have Cougar Allies on our campus. And so that is definitely included in what we mean when we say diversity. And I just wanted to, in closing, throw this one last statistic out. I don't know how many of you know, but we are the second most diverse large research institution in the nation, behind Rutgers. So when we say that we are here to serve you and your needs within diversity, we really those numbers behind us. So we are excited to partner with you in those. So thank you so much, Dr. Maxwell. I appreciate you being here. Always love to hear your perspectives and the way you bring it to us. And Dr. Thompson, I really appreciate you facilitating this and supporting this addition to our event. And employers, I hope that you really got something out of that and understand that we are ready to partner with you and walk through this journey and help you, personalize your recruitment needs and really to help you to reach those goals. So thank you.
Donnell, can I just add one thing as you transition regarding the LGBT community? We have done programming, so it's not like we're just ready. I just want to give an example of how, a lot of times students are concerned about outing themselves. So we've done some programming with employers where they actually shared their experience from walking from an internship and then finally getting a job, and then how they would want to come out, or even during the interview